Happy Easter, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, once again for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update on this smashing Sunday. We've got quite a bit to get into. We're going to kick things off by getting you guys ready economically for the week that we got ahead of us as far as data is concerned. We're then going to be talking about the general situation right now that is plaguing the markets, and that is, of course, the uncertainty around tariffs. I think there's going to be a consumer confidence coming out in Europe. That's supposed to be like minus 15. We're at record low sentiment and record high uncertainty levels based on everything that Trump is doing. And we've said there's really two paths forward. The one is the literal implementation and escalation of what was set out on Liberation Day. And we've seen China perhaps be an example of that. Or there was going to be a resolve, which 135 countries are now looking to try and do and enact. And we showed you a clip of the Italian Prime Minister essentially saying, look, we're here to do a deal. Many other countries, I think, are going to end up doing that. And that's a far better scenario than scenario one, which I think the markets and certainly sentiment and retail is expecting. You know, people are very worried about the whole situation. But we'll look at some sort of takes in regards to that. We'll just start things off with the CNBC homepage. It's covered in, Vance is over in India. Trump talking about what he's going to do moving forward. There's some beef between him and the Fed. And then I'll close things off on a clip that he had that was released on Twitter in regards to him actually talking about China and the fact they're going to get a deal. We'll look at the stock market. Then we're going to talk about an interesting topic, and that is gold a leading indicator for Bitcoin? And does this give us any kind of inkling in regards to what may be to come for Bitcoin? And I think, interestingly, we were very much predicting and have been for a long time this run that gold is getting. It's made a number of targets for us, and we've got that $3,556 target, and you're steaming towards it. And that target has come out of a cup and handle pattern that Bitcoin also has, taking it to 306,000, which I do think you're going to get. And then we'll finish things off with a little bit of news from Schwab, Charles Schwab, and their CEO came out just the other day, literally yesterday, and said, we're going to start crypto trading in the next 12 months, which means there's going to be a lot of regulatory approval, likely the ETF approvals coming off the back end of this, and they highlight the increased interest. So as always, we've got a hell of a lot to get into. Let's kick things off by getting you ready for the economic data that we have this week. It's obviously Easter Monday, which is a UK bank holiday. The rest of the markets are open. The US markets are open, which are the big ones that the cryptocurrency markets really have been looking to. I'd imagine you've got a lot of traders right now that are trying to take advantage of the pressure the broader markets are having on crypto. I mean, you're literally seeing, so what I mean by that is if the S&P opens down, they might short the cryptocurrency markets because they are very much tethered. We are seeing, though, and we did see last week, altcoins hold up better than Mag 7 stocks. And that's an interesting kind of paradigm that we're currently in on the back end of all of this. And crypto, with its global nature, perhaps is a little bit more sheltered than these US-specific companies. But Monday, we've not really got anything. Tuesday, we've got European consumer confidence. This will be pretty abysmal, I imagine, on the back end of everything. Then we've got a hell of a lot of PMIs, which is going to be interesting to watch. We are seeing upticks in the UK PMI and a slight decrease in the US PMIs. And then Thursday, we've got things like durable goods, existing home sales, and Friday, UK retail sales. So it's a lackluster week. There are some half and quarterly earnings coming out for various companies, such as Alphabet and Intel, Tesla, Boeing. This is going to be interesting. I know Schwab had a pretty interesting jump in regards to their earnings, 40% surge in quarterly profits. I would say that's likely on the yields that they're collecting on the bonds. We'll look at this in just a second. So not a lot going on. And I think really there's going to be some angst in regards to going into tomorrow because the stock market was indeed closed on Friday. So the cryptocurrency market is really looking to it for some sort of guidance. It's a paper bag in the wind or a plastic bag in the wind, whatever the saying goes. And I think until the market's open tomorrow, there's going to be certainly volatility, I would say, in the cryptocurrency space. We'll get a little bit more volatility later on today when, of course, the futures market opens for the US. But you can see Bitcoin. We'll talk about it on a bigger time frame. It isn't really doing a lot right now. This is uncertainty and likely preparing for some sort of big move to the upside. I wonder what this kind of smaller pattern, if there is one there. But we'll talk about Bitcoin in a little bit more detail. And in regards to the overall situation, I mean, we're constantly getting progression towards what I would believe is the more likely scenario, which is a resolution to all of this that may result in lower tariffs across the board. The only pariah in that, I would perhaps say, is China. And just the fact that the US has put 245% tariffs on China makes me think that there is 100% going to be a deal, because it is absolutely nonsensical for anybody to levy 245% tariffs on China. The US and China, largest trade partners, the US takes in $500 billion annually, roughly, from China. That's what they buy. Takes in isn't the right word. They take Chinese goods and they give them $500 billion. 245% tariffs on that? Well, you're talking, what, 1.6, 1.7 trillion? So 3 times the cost if you were to do the same trade. And of course, there's a whole sort of thing you could riff on the back end of all of that. It's just entirely nonsensical and just leads me to be even more positive that there's going to be resolve to the situation. And the markets are really looking for that. And of course, as crypto investors, we need to contend with all of this. What I want to do is play a very quick clip of what he had to say specifically in regards to China and getting a deal. And I think that's the likely ultimate resolve here. And the markets have priced in the worst. Any improvement on that, I think you see that recovery. I think we saw that 13% candle on the back end of the 90-day tariffs. It showed a willingness to kind of negotiate, scenario 2. And any continuation of that, I think the markets recover on that. And I'm very confident right now in regards to what I'm seeing when it comes to the cryptocurrency space on the smaller timeframes. I think you're going to get a major run for Bitcoin and the altcoins we'll talk about. Is gold a lead indicator? There's some interesting things going on there and kind of may predict Bitcoin's future for us. Let's play this clip of Trump and what he had to say previously or last in regards to the tariff situation, specifically in regards to the kind of trade between the 2 largest economies in the world, obviously the US and China.
President, you said you have you have said in the past that you aren't worried about allies growing closer to China as a result of your tariffs. And this week we saw Chinese President Xi Jinping visit with 3 of our allies. Should you be worried that they're growing closer?
No.
Mr. President, will you pick up the phone?
Nobody can compete with us. Nobody.
You said that you have a good relationship with President Xi. Why not pick up the phone and call him and make a deal?
Oh, we're going to make a deal. We'll have a deal. I think we're going to make a very good deal with China.
Do you plan to reach out to him and call him?
I think that you will see we'll make a very good deal with China.
I personally think that's likely. Think about 245% tariffs in the context of the amount of sort of impact that's going to have. I mean, it's just nonsensical. You might as well make it 1,000%. It's not going to work. Who pays that, first of all? Well, you'd say China would pay that to the US, but they'd be paying more in tariffs than they were taking in from trades. It would just kill that. It would kill $500 billion worth of trade globally pretty much instantly. It's nonsensical. There will be a deal on the back end of this. I think the markets obviously have priced in this price action, which really started with DeepSeek and how that affected NVIDIA predominantly, is all based on the uncertainty. Any path forward that's laid out, and there's multiple paths that need to be laid out other than tariffs, like what the Fed is doing. Any path forward that's laid out from a tariff point of view and resolution or move towards that, you'll see a recovery, I believe. And I'm not a fan of the fact that you've broken down and you've invalidated this uptrend now. You could be starting a downtrend. You need to see upside rather sharpishly. And I do think you're going to get it. And I do think this situation does get resolved. But that's just my own opinion. I could be entirely wrong. Let's talk about gold. Everyone's talking about how well gold's doing. This is on its way to the final target that we have for gold, which is 3,556. We've been very right on this, whether it was the head and shoulders or the bull flag that we've been looking at. Both of these 2 targets have been met and there was consolidation around them. You've got this final target. And Bitcoin is supposed to be the digital gold. I think one thing with gold, which is also a hindrance to it, is the fact that it's not digital, that makes it quite unique as a investment proposition. The same with silver. I think there's an opportunity coming for silver. I don't just think silver looks that way. I think also the miners do. This is a crypto channel. Why are we talking about gold? Well, Bitcoin's supposed to be the digital gold. And I think there is a correlation between here in the red, and maybe we'll change it to like a nice thick blue or something, just so we can see this. There is a correlation between gold's price action generally and Bitcoin. And this is historically true. You can see the pullbacks, rally, pullback, gold was shorter. It kind of led. It pulled back here and has led once again. Well, we are expecting Bitcoin to see that continuation. I'm always skeptical about saying this is really a reliable source, just like offsetting global M2. But there is a correlation between gold and Bitcoin, and typically gold has led Bitcoin. And the beautiful thing for gold is this cup and handle pattern that's given us this target. And it's really, this is what Bitcoin has ahead of it in regards to where it currently is and the structure that it's in and what's to come. We've got 306 based on this cup and handle for Bitcoin. And I think you get there this cycle. And I think we are on the cusp of continuation for the cryptocurrency space. I think the markets are going to suffer from some angst going into tomorrow, just based on, it's been a while since they've had a kind of something to anchor themselves onto, the cryptocurrency space, in regards to the traditional markets and what might be happening there. But I think, ultimately we're looking at this falling wedge for Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies out there that I think resolve to the upside. And we've shown you, we did something like 10 cryptos that have this falling wedge. You've also got M2, you've also got potentially what gold is signaling. And I think gold is very much Bitcoin's future in regards to that macro pattern that we're looking at. And I think you've got continuation setting up in the form of a falling wedge. Let's talk about a little bit of crypto news. This is from The Block, good site to follow, by the way. Charles Schwab, CEO, says spot trading for crypto will likely launch within 12 months. Charles Schwab's CEO, Rick Worcester, said the financial service firm is hopefully and likely to be able to launch support for spot crypto trading within the next year on a recent earnings call. Worcester also said more of its clients are seeking information about crypto, with one site seeing a 400% surge in traffic. The US's next major crypto exchange may have a familiar name. Charles Schwab Corp. CEO Rick, who assumed the position in January, has pursued offering spot crypto trading support to the financial services firm's clients, predicting a change in the US government's crypto regulatory environment. On a recent earnings call, Worcester laid out a more solid timeline for the company's crypto efforts. Our expectation is that with the changing regulatory environment, we are hopefully and likely to be able to launch direct spot crypto trading, and our goal is to do so within the next 12 months. They've also had a really good earnings report. He also goes on to say, we saw a 400% increase in traffic to Schwab's crypto site recently, 70% of whom were prospects. Worcester said, as I've said numerous times in the past, spot crypto trading will be table stakes for every major brokerage. ETFs store President Nate Garcia said on X in a response to the news. Yeah, this is coming, guys. This is huge news. One of the largest sort of financial institutions now entering the crypto arena. It more broadly shows, I think, what's going to happen with regulatory clarity. And the fact we are going to get it, we've got a host of ETFs ready to ignite. And I think that could correspond with technically what we're looking at in regards to this or these falling wedges across the board, certainly for the altcoin sector. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it from me. Let me know what you thought about everything that we've covered in this daily market update. We're still yet to see what way the kind of tariff trade war is going. I wouldn't say I have really much certainty on it. I just have what I think is more probable and I think logical. Is gold a lead indicator for Bitcoin? Maybe. I wouldn't 100% go by that, but there is something interesting there, certainly in regards to gold being a great example of how a kind of cup and handle structure plays out and moves towards its target, and where Bitcoin is in that future being ahead of it. And the likes of Charles Schwab entering the cryptocurrency space says a lot. Institutions are here. It likely points to approval of ETF or ETFs. And a whole host of other things. Really bullish for the industry. That's it for us, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.